Shusha.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming back at you for that Monday night boxing recap known as the Shoeshine. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Fly Eagles, Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
Good to see you, man. Philadelphia all done with the parade and all?
Yep.
Feels good to be champs, man. Congratulations once again to Drew Evo and his city, the city of brotherly love. Did they have the celebration where Rocky was filmed at the top of the Rocky thing?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Damn, I saw highlights of that online, man. It looked pretty sick with it, man. It's always great to be world champs. Saludos to everybody joining us now, and of course in the replay. Shout out to Ryan. Haven't seen you in a minute. Appreciate you, F Donuts. Good to have you in the house. Appreciate you, homie. You know what it is, man. It's the Shoeshine. We recap all the best fights of the past weekend and look forward to next week. But you guys might be able to tell those that watch regularly that I'm pretty sick. I got this Vegas thing finally, the Vegas bug going around, Drew. Last night I couldn't even talk, so we'll see how long. Maybe I'll have you do the majority of the talking. By the way, we have a poll up on the community posts. Drew is now finally playing Undisputed PS5, and he will be streaming it. We're gonna have Drew post his channel link, or I'll try to do that during the show. But we took a vote. What do you want to see Drew live stream on the PS5's Undisputed game? What weight class? I put the Loma weight class, Drew. I put lightweight in that.
Well, I like the way the weight classes are. It's like two weight classes in one. Like, I think it's like welterweight will be that and 140. I think 135 be on the featherweight, and middleweight and super middleweight will be together. Light heavyweight be by itself. Cruiserweight be by itself, and heavyweight be by itself. So I'll probably, if it's 135. It's probably going to be featherweight. So,
and I got to figure out how I could share, basically how we could share it at the same time on this channel, so we could have the more content, the better, right? Hey, I appreciate. I hadn't seen Ryan in a minute. If I didn't say hello to you already, saludos, and Big Spooky's in the house. He says, "What's up, vatos?" So, you're feeling which weight class, Drew, for that video game?
Well, I fucked around with it a little bit and play a couple of career modes, like tryouts and everything. But the one I'm gonna really start is the real one. See how good of a career I can have in it, because trying to get the flow of things, it's like a little bit difficult. The controls a little bit. Like I played some rank today, and like you gotta be, if you're really good at that game. Tell you the truth, you gotta be like a lot of practice be good. Like I first got on the rank match and they matched me up with like a top 500 guy in the world, and dude only lost 29 times, and for some reason all his hits were landing with fucking hard hits that took a lot of energy off me. So I have to know the ins and outs before I start getting good at it. But I think career, I'm probably gonna go. I'm hoping to go once in middleweight, but it looks like it's gonna be 135.
A shout out to Card Chop Reality, 175 lightweight division. I already put the picture. We got brand new champions, guys. A star-studded event weekend in the sport of boxing, and of course, this weekend we have the massive pay-per-view coming from Saudi Arabia, brought to you by Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh Season. But American boxing fans had a lot to rejoice. ESPN put a great Friday night fight. You see Keyshawn Davis dancing in the background. You know what, Drew? I forgot to do. I was joking with my wife about the time that we did that Twitch sports show with Keyshawn Davis. She said, go find the clips of the woman that beat you, Miss Thickums. And I forgot to prepare that, but I might do that on our subsequent show this weekend. Congratulations to Keyshawn Davis. Of course, we have a brand new champion from El Monte, California. He was on our show, Lucas Catterall, a writer for Boxing Scene, brought him on board. Arnold Barboza finally becomes champion. Amazing. Kind of. Right? Because he's not really full champion. He's WBO interim champion. What the fuck is an interim champion, Drew? For the people that don't know,
It makes you the mandatory.
it makes you. It's a minor belt. It's a secondary belt. It's the
Yeah,
WBA regular belt.
Yeah.
And who has the official belt? Well, of course, that's Teofimo Lopez, who still fights for Bob Arum, who might be fighting in Alcatraz. And we're going to get to the winners and losers of the weekend. Obviously, the big winners and the big losers. And you'll be surprised or not surprised who my big loser of the weekend is, because he didn't fight. Just might be who I was talking about.
You know what? My city is probably one of the only cities that boos their mayor during a speech. We booed the shit out of her and we kept telling her to wrap it up because she just, like, I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of our mayor either. I think our mayor is a terrible mayor, especially to the union workers of Philadelphia and everything. And she gave herself a 9% raise when she first got in and her whole cabinet, but did not spend it on the people and rather spend it on private contractors than the people that work their asses off for the city. I just had to say that, Dave. Had to speak my mind on the matter because I'm one of those people.
I hear you. And shout out to all the blue collar union folks working out there, supporting the shoe shine and the sport of boxing. Hit that like if you don't mind. Let's get this channel up. Make sure people know about it. I appreciate you. Mom Food is in the building. Anyone hear about the Times Square card? Ryan says, what I heard was crazy that they might be offering, Turkey Ali Sheik might be offering a fight free, which is the Ryan Garcia fight with Devin Haney on the same card, that it might be free. And the details have been kind of sparse, Drew. I don't know if they're saying the media workout or I don't know what portion they're saying. I even heard that they might just let whoever gets in free, first come, first serve. We'll get to watch We'll watch championship level boxing. Two of the biggest stars, Haney. Is that true? That sounds even crazy. That sounds crazy. In New York, I can imagine. He says that might be a nightmare. All right, first up to bat, since I said I'm sick, let's run through this. I thought it was a pretty darn good ESPN card. And you know that boxing might be seeing the end of days on ESPN, which would be a tragedy for American boxing, in my opinion, Drew. But Abdullah Mason, one of the top prospects at 135 pounds, knocks out Stockton, California. And this week we're going to have more Stockton, California, because we're going to see the return of Gabe Flores, who once fought on Top Rank, will now be fighting on Pro Box this Wednesday night, guys. But Manuel James, a Robert Garcia fighter, usually his fighters are elite. You guys might remember Manuel James for fighting Rolly Romero recently, and Rolly Romero actually picked up a win against Manuel James, and he looked okay doing it, and Abdullah Mason had no problem knocking this guy out from Stockton, California. Dude, he made easy work. I'm just going to tell you right now, that was an A-level performance. He did not get touched like in that last fight where he was dropped by the Mexican fighter. I'll just give him an A. I give him an A. He did his work easy. It was easy work. Manuel James went down 4 times in 4 rounds, bro. Ouch. Have to give him an A for that.
Yep.
All right, moving on. This one is controversial a little bit. Jared Big Baby Anderson. Remember him? He took on the fight for a Riyadh season in Los Angeles, but Coley beat the shit out of him. He was supposed to be the next great thing in American heavyweight boxing. Goes the distance against a journeyman from Europe, Drew. I don't know if you heard him in the corner, but the microphone picked it all up, and Timothy Bradley ripped the shit out of him. First of all, he needed to come back and get a win, a decisive win. But it was a workman's-like performance, Drew, and some of the shit he was saying in the corner was unbelievable. Let me play to you guys just a little bit. It's on my phone. I haven't figured out how to stream Twitter onto the show, but...
Under, but you abandoning the body a little bit. We gotta stay down there. Honestly, tugging, I hate hitting elbows. Aim for the, gotta change the trajectory and aim for the center. All right, go ahead.
All right, Tim, nobody likes to hit elbows, but there's ways around it.
Come on, man.
Too much complaining for me, man. All I hear is complaining. You listen to your corner, man. That's all I'm hearing is complaining.
Tim Bradley ripping Jared Anderson, Drew. In between rounds, his corners, by the way, he got a new training team. He got a new team behind him. New coach. Coach is telling him how to break this European level fighter down. And he tells his coach, I hate hitting to the elbows. I hate punching to the elbows. He don't want to listen to his coach. He's telling him how to break him down. He says, I hate punching guys to the elbows. Later on, After that, he gets caught on microphone saying, fuck, I don't feel like going 10 rounds today. You don't want to go 10 rounds, maybe follow your coach's instructions. Drew, I have to ask you, and I give Jared Anderson, I mean, he won, he went the distance. I kind of give him a C-level performance coming off that knockout loss. Drew, what's wrong with Jared Big Baby Anderson? At one point, he was supposed to be the next big thing.
Doesn't have it in him. He's not committed to the sport. And this is all about money for him, a paycheck and everything. When you're all about not just a pay, when you're all about a paycheck and not building a legacy or getting better at it, and you're comfortable making the money you make, you're not really going to go for it. And you think that you can keep this up and everything. If the right promoter's not going to waste their time on you much longer. You are supposed to produce. You're not developing now. You went backwards instead of forward. And then now you're being a problem child. So like somebody's gotta get into his ear and gotta tell him, yo, you got a decision to make. Are you committed to this sport or not? If you're not fully committed, you need to retire before you get yourself seriously injured.
I have to agree with you 100%, Drew. You know what's ironic is I'm going to talk about the next fighter, which is obviously Xander Zayas. And I was there for the debut of both of these fighters in Reno, California, back when I was still living in the Bay, and we went for a romantic, cold winter. It was in October of 20, right before the pandemic, guys. It was the debut of Xander Zayas and of Big Baby Jared Anderson, my good friend of the show that was on there when he was fighting Francisco Pancho Esparza from Las Vegas, was on that card. And of course, even San Jose's, the Shark, El Tiburon, was on there too as well, guys. And everyone thought that Jared Anderson was going to be the next big contender coming out of the heavyweight division for Top Rank, as well as Xander Zayas. They signed him one of the youngest contracts, youngest people to be signed by Top Rank. Jared Anderson ain't working out, in my opinion, Drew. In fact, the silver medalist, Richard Torres, just signed the fight. A pretty good fight against that Italian heavyweight. Richard Torres has been taking the methodical approach that Top Rank applies to their prospects. They want to turn contenders. He's been taking every step forward. Now he's going to fight someone that's a legitimate, in my opinion, top 10 type heavyweight fighter in Guido Vianello, I believe is his name. But when Jared Anderson stepped up to Bacoli, whoa! Not only before that, remember he fought former heavyweight champion, what's his name? Charles Martin. He got exposed in that fight. Basically, in the Charles Martin fight, we learned that Jared Anderson wasn't ready to fight that level. And instead of listening to smart people around him, they agreed to fight Bacoli, who obviously was at a world-class level, and because of that, he got exposed. Now he's back to fighting fringe guys nobody freaking knows, nobody really knows. But instead of blasting them out, like I would expect, Jared Anderson gets back to knocking these type of opponents out. Now it sounds like he's afraid to take punches. Now it sounds like he's gun shy. Now it sounds like Anthony Joshua, when Anthony Joshua went through his phase where he was afraid to get hurt. And it wasn't a good look. It was all caught on audio. And it was a bad look. I don't know. I don't think like you said, Drew, he might only have one or two big cash out fights. Ryan says, I forgot about it when I remember Jared Anderson saying something to the effect of, it's for the money. He's not worried about titles or legacy, and seemed mentally checked out even in that clip. And I do believe, I know what clip you're talking about. Shout out to Warlock Boxing. I appreciate you being in here. Thank you, homeboy. Jared Anderson, Drew, he needs to step up the next level of fight and look good and look like he wants to hurt. The killer instinct is gone in him. It really is. Xander Zayas, meanwhile, he did something fantastic. He becomes the WBO mandatory to Sebastian Fundora this weekend. But fighting a guy that, in my opinion, was, again, another step back. They got a guy from European, kind of a fringe guy, 154 pounds. Last week, I was off my game. What'd I say? Roy Jones trains this guy. Sawarma was his name. Anyways, he looked pretty good in that fight, Drew. I thought Xander Zayas looked pretty good. He did get rocked at one time. That was a little concerning. I can't give him an A for that performance, but now he's really putting pressure on PBC and Sebastian Fundora, who will be fighting in March. And they've got Puerto Rican Day Parade booked for Xander Zayas in New York City, which is the day he should be fighting. It's the equivalent to Cinco de Mayo for Puerto Rican fighters. It looks like he ain't going to happen, Drew. He ain't going to get a Sebastian Fundora fight at all for Puerto Rican Day and Parade. It's just too soon of a turnaround. How likely is it that PBC will work with top-ranked guys? Let me know. I'll be really disappointed if this fight never happens. But the fact of the matter is, this Saturday, Virgil Ortiz is going to make a strong case if he wins and beats Madrimov that he's the number one contender in the entire 154-pound division. What do you think, Drew?
I think Sampson is going to be the main reason why that fight doesn't happen. But I think it's going to get to a point where the WBO is going to force Fundora to fight Xander Zayas if he wins this fight coming up. And Sampson ain't going to be able to do nothing. And he's going to talk him into vacating the belt and duck Xander Zayas. As for this weekend with Madrimov versus Virgil Ortiz, I'm going to say this right now. This, everybody knows like my opinion of Madrimov, and like I already said before when this fight was made. On an even playing field, Madrimov beats Virgil Ortiz. It's on an even playing field now because he did not go and fight Bobachek. So now, I said this last week. My main prediction of that fight, I think he stops Virgil Ortiz inside 9 rounds. I think the unorthodox style is going to be too much for Virgil Ortiz to overcome because he's going to get hit with shots that he does not see coming.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time.
Man, I got to be witness to that incredible fight right here in Las Vegas in 2024. Virgil Ortiz versus Serhiy Bobachek. An incredible fight, Drew. He took 2 flash knockdowns, being overly aggressive, getting timed perfectly, wasn't really hurt. And in those 2 knockdown rounds, he rallied back and fought like a maniac, almost winning the round back. I know it's impossible to, sometimes it's hard to see a 10-8 round become a 10-9, but he almost did, in my opinion. Some people would have liked to said he did. Actually, people must have because they awarded Virgil Ortiz the winner in the Bobachek fight. You think he's going to get clipped coming in? You're saying stoppage for Madrimov?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's entirely possible. I see it highly unlikely because of the volume of punches. I think that as conservative as Terrence Crawford was, I think that he don't give a shit. Virgil Ortiz is very strong for 154. He walks around in a much higher weight class. We're going to get into a deep dive this weekend later on, guys. I think Thursday night we're going to do the entire card parlay. Make sure you tune in for that Thursday night to the Shoe Shine on Thursday night. We're going to break it down, but you're hearing an early prediction from Drew. One thing, guys, about Xander Zayas, and I have pictures with him somewhere back in the day when I met him also at the Cosmopolitan. Xander is filling out huge, Drew. I remember I texted you that morning when he weighed in. Back in his hotel room, he showed everybody what he weighed in off the scale. Drew, it was crazy. Xander Zayas was weighing over 180 pounds rehydrated for the 154 weight class. Bro, that's 26 pounds of water weight that he got back in one day. And he is only 22 years old. Devin Haney was getting clowned on because he rehydrated in the Ryan Garcia fight over 25 pounds as well, it looks like. The same energy needs to be applied to Xander. I'm going to say it. Xander's going to outgrow this weight class very quickly. He deserves a title shot very soon. He obviously is packing on muscle, and he's gaining his man strength, and he's probably going to have a good opportunity at becoming a world champion at middleweight. If he doesn't get an opportunity, he deserves the shot. Who's Fundora fighting? Buckley? Somebody completely. I mean, dude, like, fuck. That is a trash-ass opponent, Samson. You know that your guy can do better. Give Fundora an opportunity to shine. He's fought some of the best. He's fought, the Australian guy, Tim Zhu. He's fought other guys. Give him an opportunity to fight a young lion like Xander Zayas. It's good for the sport of boxing. Xander Zayas said, hey, Fundora's Mexican. Let's go, Mexico, Puerto Rico. I don't really, Fundora's half Mexican. He's half Cuban too. So he's not full-blooded Mexican like, say, Virgil Ortiz or Jesus Ramos Jr., but the kid deserves a shot. Shout out to Authentic. Thank you so much for that comment. The best boxer is Ajit Kabayal. That is a fight that I'm looking forward to this weekend, right? Zhang versus Kabayal. That's not a bad fight. God, there's so many amazing fights this weekend, guys, on the Riyadh Season Saturday card. I think it starts at 7 a.m. in the morning. I think Drew's busy putting on his shoes, guys. What did you guys think of Xander Zayas? Again, he won. He's now the WBO mandatory to Sebastian Fundora. Wow, this is going to be a long show. Let's get on to Keyshawn Davis. Man, the silver medalist. He's got an arch nemesis in boxing. We need to be talking about the showdown that is inevitable between him and not Gervonta Tank Davis, because all of a sudden, people are talking about Keyshawn Davis could become a big star in boxing, Drew. They're saying he might have that it factor. Smokes Baranchek in fourth rounds. Baranchek looked scared as fuck to exchange. I don't think he was ever in the fight. Baranchek looked like the mind games got to him. And the irony is that he was accused of sending bananas and watermelon over to Keyshawn, but it looked like the person who was not into the game mentally was Baranchek. Shout out to all 23 of you joining. Don't forget to hit that like button. What did you guys think of this fight? Keyshawn Davis becomes the newest 135-pound champion alongside Lomachenko, Gervonta Tank Davis. Who do you want to see him fight against? Let's not even forget Abdullah Mason. Abdullah Mason could be a champion. A Boogie says Keyshawn's looking great right now. He really has in those last two performances. What grade do you give him, Drew?
I give him an A, but I thought Baranchek had a bad plan, but I ain't gonna give him an A. You know why I'm not gonna give him an A? I'm gonna give him a B minus, basically because for that whole point of the fight, he held a lot. And that's what I did not like. Why are you holding and everything? It was really, until that point, a boring fight. It was like too much holding and everything. Like, I don't see what the point was. He got careless and got himself caught a couple of times with punches and everything, unnecessary punches. But both, like, Baranchek had a wrong game plan, too. I don't know what the fuck Baranchek was doing, but it was just too much holding for Keyshawn. Why are you holding a guy that you can clear out box the whole fucking time? You try to make it. No, this is a showcase fight for you to not only win a title, but to take out one of the division champions of this division.
Really showcase. I honestly thought Baranchek was going to be able to go close to the distance in this one. I didn't think he was going to get rocked in 4 rounds, which brings me to this great Olympic team, Drew. Usyk, Lomachenko, Zvodzik, former champion, now on the downside of his career, recently losing to David Benavidez, which is no embarrassment. Keyshawn Davis, Ryan says, Keyshawn is looking impressive as fuck. I have to agree with you, but then Saturday night happened, and Madueño, the guy that Keyshawn really beat down but couldn't get out of the ring. You just couldn't get that strong Mexican guy from Sinaloa out of there. Saturday night happens, and we have the best fight of the weekend, a Mexican showdown, a straight-up fucking phone booth fight. I love it, Drew. Then that happened, which now I'm starting to wonder, and a lot of people are going to want to bring up the triangle theory. How did Oscar Duarte knock out the shit out of Madueño, who's never been knocked out, but Keyshawn went the distance with him? So how impressive is that win over Baranchek? It's impressive nonetheless. Let's talk about some key differences. Madueño took that fight against Keyshawn Davis at 135, a weight class that he had already outgrown. So he should have been weaker at 135, and yet he wasn't able to get knocked out. Keyshawn wasn't able to knock him out. But Madueño didn't nearly throw the amount of volume he threw against Duarte this Saturday night. Duarte, Drew, also a fantastic 135 prospect / contender who was dragged up by Ryan Garcia to 140. Okay, he wasn't ready to move up to 140 yet. Then Ryan Garcia shows up at the weight class of 143 pounds on the day of the weigh-in, and he tells Duarte, well, bro, it's all I can do, 143. Take the fucking fight or leave it. 8 pounds, an 8-pound weight advantage. Essentially, Duarte takes his second loss of his career. let's move on to that, man. Shout out to and congratulations to Keyshawn Davis, silver medalist, now an official world champion at 135. That's right, Warlock Boxing. He was a late replacement with only just 2 weeks to go, man. I thought he did impressive. And in fact, to be honest, man, Regis Prograis, he's definitely on the back end of his career. And that was going to be, to me, that was a showcase. Like, let's watch Duarte beat up a former world champion who's not looking good anymore, who's on the downslide. And this was an even better fight for the fight fans in Southern California. Drew, I'm going to still give Keyshawn Davis an A. But I have to ask you the question. If he was to get an opportunity to fight Lomachenko in his last fight, Lomachenko says, I got one more fight in me, potentially. I got to wait and see what my MRI says about my back. Would you like to see Bob Arum force a unification?
I like to, but I don't think it's going to happen. I look at it like this. I think Keyshawn's going to move up. I think they're going to take, his manager's going to look at the scale, the whole thing, of 135, and he's going to realize, you don't want to fight Shakur. We can't get a tank fight. We don't know about Loma. There's no way you're going to unify. Move up to 140. I think there's a lot of big fights for him at 140. And I think he's somewhat getting ready to outgrow 135. He looks big for 135. So
he looks massive. He looks massive. I don't know look, I'm saying Xander Zayas rehydrated over 25 pounds to close to 26 pounds. Keyshawn looks like a middleweight. He literally looked like a middleweight. It was easy work beating up on Baranchuk to me. I think he's going to make a fantastic addition to 140. And he's already talking about today. He's talking about fighting Pitbull Cruz. How do you guys feel about? He called out Pitbull Cruz. Come on, Keyshawn. You know you want that Tank Davis fight. Fight for the Tank Davis fight.
He wants the Tank Davis fight, but he's not going to get the Tank Davis fight because
Tank is too busy fighting small dudes.
Yeah, Tank ain't going to want to fight nobody, and I think we got to look at it like this. Tank's legacy, he has no legacy. And I think people need to stop with that. He's a pound for pound great. He's not. How can you be a pound for pound great when you're fighting nobody? And then you're willing to take a fight with a older and injured fighter like Lomachenko, and then try to low ball him. They say, "Oh, he ducked me." When you knowing you're not going to take $2.5 million on a fight with you, knowing that you're the one that ducked and everything. Like, arguably, he has a back injury, and arguably, he fought Haney and Kambosos with that back injury and still fought that good as he did. So, I think that if we look at it, the scale of this division, we're right back to square one, that nobody's fighting one another. And I look at it as in Keyshawn, the best thing in business for Keyshawn is to move up and weight.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of opportunities at 140 pounds. We're going to get to that. Yeah.
And guess what? What belt does he hold at 135, Dave?
Which one did he just win?
The WBO, right?
The WBO, okay.
But what is the rule of the WBO? When you notify the WBO that you are intending to move up in weight, you automatically become the mandatory to the next weight class WBO championship. And who owns that title? Teofimo Lopez. And I'm going to say this right now. Teofimo Lopez has possibly ducked more people in the last 5 months than fucking Tank has in his career.
A Boogie 616 says Isaac Cruz and Keyshawn would be interesting. I think Keyshawn is definitely in need of a big name. The question is, would Isaac Cruz give him that fight? And obviously, could we have seen the last of Pitbull Cruz experiment at 140 pounds? I myself think he's way too small. If Isaac Cruz wants a decent payday, he should be calling for an opportunity to come back down to 135. I mean, it is a good name, but I think it's a fight where Isaac Cruz, just like recently, he was kind of exposed by the other Mexican guy, Rayo Valenzuela, who's going to be defending his title. I don't think he wins that fight against Keyshawn at 135 at all. Now, speaking of Teofimo and Alcatraz and WBO mandatory, Drew, you're absolutely right. And that's why I'm going to bring it to everyone's attention. The big loser of the weekend was Mr. I'm Getting Divorced, finalized this week. Teofimo Lopez, who might be getting a fight in Alcatraz if Turki Ali Sheikh gets his way with the federal government. He will get it. It is a landmark, federal landmark. Federal Park would be the first time in the history of the sport of boxing that people fight on Alcatraz. And it'd be amazing, Drew. He's the big fucking loser this week, Drew. Look, first it started off with this shenanigans, sending this racist gift. He's been exposed saying racist things, calling African-American fighters monkeys. He sends over bananas and watermelons. Then he puts out this Instagram video laughing, eating bananas, basically trolling everybody and letting everybody know, businesswoman, that, whatever the businessman is supposed to be, Keyshawn, letting everybody know that was me. Very proud of his work, Drew. And now, did you hear that the African-American fighters, they're all kind of aligning up, including Keyshawn Davis, saying, fuck him, we ain't going to fight him. And now he ain't, who's he going to fight? Well, I'll tell you who he has to fight. That's the next guy that we're going to talk about. Is none other than Arnold Barboza Jr., who's his mandatory.
I got 3 losers of the week.
What are your three losers of the week?
Number 1, Nico Ali Walsh lost his second professional fight in 13 fights and lost to another nobody. I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh, man.
But the experiment and the story is over. It's played out. and I'm sorry, it's played out. The kid's never gonna be good. He's never gonna be. This story of him being Ali's grandson, I think we got us. It's played out.
You mean the novelty? The novelty of it.
It ran its course, Dave. Come on, you gotta admit, it ran its course. He's not gonna be nowhere near a contender.
Dude, I forgot. I forgot I wanted to mention this one. I was just telling my wife the story because that one not too long ago, we ran into him in the hallways at the Palms Casino. And even one time, Drew, we were late driving to the Cosmopolitan, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and who was right behind me in their car but Nico Ali Walsh. And I have yet to talk to him in person. And she's like, don't you want to talk to him? I was so irritated that night. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Anyhow, shout out to the Mexican dude that surprisingly beat Nico Ali Walsh, because I was just reading he's a Chicano from Chicago, and he's a part-time boxer, Drew. He owns his full-time life, he owns a concrete pouring company. He pours concrete for himself as a business, and in his part-time is a boxer. A part-time boxer beat Nico Ali Walsh, Drew. And you're right. Big loser. Yeah, I'm calling, Teofimo and his antics. I don't support that shit as a Latino myself. I don't support that. I don't think that's the way to compose yourself as a champion. But really, I heard Jake Paul offered Nico Ali Walsh over $1 million to fight him just so he could say I beat up an Ali. And Nico Ali Walsh, I think about a year ago, said, nah, I only fight real fighters. Oh, he's about to get fucking the rug pulled from him at Top Rank. Real talk, he's about to get canned.
They gotta can him because here's the thing: you're likely moving the DAZN, and to promote the story over DAZN is a waste of time. Now, this kid is not gonna be anything close to a contender. Hey, he's probably a nice guy, but he's not.
I'm sure of it.
Anywhere close to a contender, and I think Top Rank has to accept that this kid's not gonna, his career is not gonna go anywhere, and to stop investing the money in him and drop him, let him go and pro box and rebuild himself. If
he might have a second chance at his career on the circuit of Misfits boxing, to be honest, because he's kind of like a celebrity. He's a grandson celebrity, and he's really not that much better than a club level fighter, unfortunately, learning on the job. He is a part-time student, I believe, at UNLV. Shout out to Scanty Warrior. Says Gabriel Flores Jr. Gabriel Flores Jr. fighting this Wednesday. Pro Box has been responsible for turning the careers of so many. Recently, they had the featherweight, a featherweight from Las Vegas, Angelo Leo, knock out the featherweight champion of ESPN, and now he's going to Japan to defend. Now he's the featherweight champion. So could Gabe Flores be the most recent guy to take over Pro Box and relaunch his career, what people said was a dying career, let go from ESPN? Drew, we're going to find out on Wednesday night, which is why I think we're going to do our show Thursday.
And I think the second loser is Teofimo because of his racist bullshit, and he's full of himself. Like, Teofimo's full of himself. Like, it just point blank. He's full of himself. He's really, who the fuck have you fought lately? And you ducked, like I said, he's ducked a lot of people. And
he just fought Steve Claggett. By the way, Steve Claggett, who went the distance with Teofimo, is a person that has beat Madueño, who we just saw. We're gonna get to that Madueño fight versus Duarte.
But the third one, he's a winner, but he's also one of the biggest losers, is because of the landscape of his division is Keyshawn Davis. There's no way of you to unified. So you're the biggest you're one of the biggest winners, but the biggest loser because there's no path for unification for you on 35.
My deal with Teofimo has been he's been offered fantastic fights, but ever since back when that random Trilla boxing company came out and they told him that you're worth $3 million, now Teofimo thinks he's a pay-per-view star, which he's never headlined a pay-per-view to my knowledge. It's all been ESPN main events, which is a good thing, but he's never established himself as a pay-per-view star. He's never established himself as a attraction that merits $3 million paydays. And I think he's bitter that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia have made that kind of money.
Well,
and those guys aren't that likable. Come on, let's be honest. Haney and Ryan Garcia aren't that.
Honest. I'm gonna say this right now. I saw a tweet by Voucher Steeler, fat ass, big ass, fucking gigantic King Kong belly with Glazer, fucking saying that, talking trash, Top Rank never produced pay-per-view stars. But here's the thing. They had produced multi-million million people views on their fights events on ESPN. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right.
So that is more views than what the zone is fucking getting. So I want to ask Rick Glazer something.
Oh boy.
How many fucking views does fucking the zone have more than fucking ESPN boxing events? I'll wait, you fat ass piece of shit. And by the way,
pretty safe to say he'll never appear on our show.
For the channels that want to have that dude on your channels out of desperation for numbers and show that your channel is still ain't getting views off that fat piece of shit, that's your fault for being stupid. I'm sorry. I just gotta say, because you got one guy, two guys having them on. Oh, and guess what? You still have fucking 5 people in your chat instead of having 20-some people like me and Dave all right now. And then you got another guy. He averages like 400 people without him, and then when he fucking on there, his number went from 400 to fucking 290.
Really?
So, like, come on. Can somebody explain something to me? Why do you have this fucking con artist on your fucking channels that all he does is spread lies, backlashes at people that he's burned bridges with, and then the people admit they don't fuck with him? The only one he fucks with is Oscar De La Hoya because he hasn't fucking did anything bad to him yet. I don't understand these fucking people. Like, he kind of, like, people still listen to this dude. He's wrong about pay-per-view numbers always.
True.
He's wrong about fucking everything.
True. Sorry, Drew. That's my impression. I saw him recently on that show. He was wrong. He was wrong about quite a few things here.
I fucking ball with that fat fuck and doing the show live. Watch him get 2 people live again. Anybody knows who the fuck I'm talking about too.
Here we go. Arnold Barboza Jr., El Monte, California. Drew, I thought that when he went over to Matchroom, he had a tough out in New York City against a relatively unknown Irish boxer. Arnold Barboza Jr. is your classic sweet science, and you don't think of that as from a Chicano or a Mexican fighter. You don't think sweet science. But this fight between, Jack Catterall, what he did, in my opinion, he beat the lineal champ in that also Teofimo beat. I think he should have been the world champion at that time against Josh. But Arnold Barboza remained undefeated. He takes a very difficult challenge going to Manchester, England. You said you believed he was going to win, and I said I find it very hard for him to get the judges in his favor. But we saw a boxing match Saturday afternoon, a true boxing match for the Sweet Science fans. Very close. Let's look at these god-awful, because it really...
I'm sorry. I don't think that fight was close. I don't think
really, I thought it was extremely close. I had a very difficult time.
I'm sorry. I had it 9-3 for Barbosa. I
okay.
I think Kyle did shit in that fight.
Oh, by the way, shout out
close.
Scooby Boxing Entertainment. I appreciate you coming new. I see you new in the channel here. Steve Claggett was a 147-pounder coming down to 140, if I'm not mistaken. And you could be right, because oftentimes stars like Teofimo, because of their names, will drag down fringe contenders down up or down a weight class. Now, Drew, I found it kind of hard to score. I enjoyed it. I thought Barboza was landing some clean shots, but Catterall's a sneaky left-handed counterpuncher himself. Basically, two guys really good at counterpunching. Look at these stats, guys. Catterall, 5 punches landed in round 1 to 5 punches in round 1 for Barboza. Literally a draw in that round. 5 punches for Barboza in round 2, 3 for Catterall. Pathetic to watch, actually. 4 for Catterall in round 3. 7, followed by 4 punches landed in round 5. And you could see why, obviously this isn't a Mexican showdown between two Mexicans. Again, the pattern repeats. We have like 9 punches for Barboza, 10 in round 7, 8. 10 rounds is the highest punches landed by Barboza in round 7. And round 12, just 7 to 9. This was not by any stretch of the imagination a barn buster. This was real Sweet Science boxing. And, hey, Scooby thinks Catterall won. I actually thought it was going to end up being a draw. I was surprised it wasn't a draw, or maybe 7-5 for Catterall. But I was so happy for Barboza, because, again, close fight, difficult to judge. Drew, you had it 9-3. Please tell me why.
I seen Barbosa having the more effective punches. I think he outlanded him.
He did on CompuBox. Total punches.
In CompuBox, he outlanded him. If you look at the rounds, I thought I look at for ring generalship.
Okay.
For some of these closer rounds, and I thought Barbosa had more control, had better ring generalship in those rounds than Catterall did. And I really thought Barbosa, as the fight progressed, was the one that was getting more control of the fight than Catterall. I think Catterall was being the one trying to catch up in these fights and everything. And with the low punch output of landed punches, that's what made it look close and everything. But I feel like if you look at it, I thought Barbosa had way better ring generalship than Catterall. He was getting caught. With the counter shots that he got caught with, it looked like that Barbosa had better angles than him in the whole fight.
Okay, so the power punch advantage definitely went to Barboza Jr., 69-45, a whopping 14 punches, Drew. So that's where you were seeing those head-snapping punches, like this one right here, a clean shot. In the jab department, that actually was won by Catterall, the southpaw. But in total punches landed, 71-89. Again, not a fight that was going to thrill most people, especially if you're a casual boxing fan. You're like, oh, this shit is boring. But again, this was for the WBO interim title. This means that you cannot run from Arnold Barboza Jr. Teofimo, stop. Give the guy a fucking opportunity now. He deserves it. He's the WBO. And mind you, they did not know what to do with Barboza at Top Rank, because he kept winning every fight that Top Rank made for him. He won every fight. And they kept telling him, look, Teofimo doesn't want to negotiate with you. We don't know what to do. And I saw it with my own fucking eyes, January of 2024 at the Virgin Casino, Drew. Arnold had just won his first fight with his debut at Golden Boy, and he heard that Teofimo was there. Teofimo was there. I interviewed him. It's on my channel, guys, in the hallways. He's desperately trying to talk to Teo. Let's make this fucking fight happen. And Teofimo was yelling, go worry about your fucking self, bro. You're not on my level, basically saying you need to really work on your craft because you ain't ready for me. So, there it is. Is he going to fight him? Well, I'll tell you what, the promoters for Golden Boy are anxious to get into the negotiating room because they are his mandatory, and they're hoping they can convince Turki Al-Sheikh that he deserves the fight in Alcatraz. If they're going to make this Alcatraz fight happen, the guy to make it with is Arnold Barboza Jr. You can't run, man. Just fight him.
This is the type of fighter that Teofimo does not like to fight. This is the type of fighter that makes him look bad. That really exposes his flaws and everything. So no wonder why he wants to try to talk his way out of a fight. I'm sorry to any Teofimo fanboys around. I'm sorry, your guy just doesn't want to fight anybody.
Well, 2 big fights on the horizon potentially for Teofimo. He turned down the win against the Puerto Rican who held the title for momentarily. He's turned down so many good fights because obviously he thinks he deserves to be paid more. But Keyshawn Davis, like you said, Drew, deserves a title opportunity. He can move up and petition to WBO. But Arnold Barboza Jr. rightfully deserves it. Hey, shout out to Scooby because he remembers. He says, overall, not mad at Barboza taking the win. I gave him no chance against Catterall since he had a terrible performance against that southpaw Sean McComb from Ireland. He lost.
I think he lost.
He lost that fight. We can't deny that. And I will admit with you, and Arnold Barboza Jr. is a friend of the show. Unfortunately, in close fights, sometimes the judges don't get it right. That fight wasn't that close to me. It looked like McComb earned it rightfully, and somehow magically Barboza remained undefeated. You win some, you lose some. This fight could have gone to Catterall too. I mean,
I actually had that fight 8-4 McComb.
Yeah, and where's McComb? By the way, I think that guy McComb is a fantastic 140 pound. I thought that he would have been already back in the ring in the U.S. with that performance against Arnold Barboza. Shout out to Arnold Barboza, WBO interim 140 pound champion. Really quickly, there was someone else that's new. I think they meant to say no one is talking about Agit. Shame on you. Authentic, if you want to subscribe, we'd appreciate that. We will be doing a deep dive into this Saturday's incredible pay-per-view special brought to you by Turki Al-Sheikh, and we'll discuss each and one of those fights because that card is just too much to do today. I don't even want to attempt it. I don't. So make sure you lock in for Thursday night. We'll do a rundown of that. Yeah,
you know what, Dave? There's a lot of potential money being made on that card if we play it right.
Yeah, A Boogie 616 says, I just saw the interview with Keyshawn and he entertained the Isak Cruz fight. You know, Keyshawn is going to need a big name now. He's got the attention on him headlining this ESPN card. He's in a position like Teofimo when Teofimo was headlining and Teofimo was able to brag and say, you see how many people tuned into my ESPN Prime Night fight. You know, I'm a draw. And it's not a bad name for Keyshawn Davis if Isak Cruz wants to entertain that. I think he beats Isak Cruz. The blueprint is already out there. Let's talk about another lightweight that moved up to 140 in Oscar Duarte. Already fought one of the best, according to the four king theory. Ryan Garcia came up getting knocked out by the left hook of Ryan Garcia. But Oscar Duarte at 140 pounds, he looks like a beast, Drew. Looks like a beast. Takes on Madueño, who also fought Keyshawn Davis in July of 2024. Here we see the stoppage. Madueño gave him hell. I love this fight, Drew. This was a really entertaining, fun fight for the people in Southern California this past Saturday. What do you make of Oscar Duarte in this division, 140 pounds?
I don't see it. I just don't see him being a champion in it. I think he's very beatable. He's already lost twice, but I think he's very beatable. To the right guy, he's very beatable. He's tailor-made for certain guys, for certain styles.
And he's tailor-made, but in all fairness, he's also tailor-made to put on great fights, great events, if you match him up with the right type of fighter. For instance, the March fight, the fight we just saw on PBC, which featured Pitbull Cruz and Angel Fierro from TJ at 140 pounds. Angel Fierro also came up from 135. Pitbull Cruz also came up from 135. Duarte You put Duarte against Angel Fierro, okay? Or you put him in the ring against Pitbull Cruz, you are going to have Mexican fucking fireworks. It is going to be a fan favorite event. It is going to be 10, 12 rounds of bloody hell. And we're going to find out quién es el más macho, which we found out, hey, between Madueño, who started his career in Mexico and was featured on Pro Box. Thompson Boxing. Let's take it back. Thompson Boxing, now out of business, is where Madueño got most of his recognition, Drew, and he lands himself on a big Golden Boy fight. I thought he performed admirably well, and he gets stopped for the first time in his career. Let's see what Scooby says. He says, Duarte's flat-footed, but with Robert Garcia, he can possibly get better, very strong, but he needs to work on a lot. Obviously, those kind of fighters need to work on defense, for one thing, but Ryan Garcia said that he's one of the hardest punchers he's ever faced. That means something for the division, right, Drew? But you don't see it. You don't see him making noise in the 140 division?
No. You want to be an entertaining fight to watch? And I think it could be explored. William Zepeda versus Oscar Vargas.
Hey, that's a great fight. There's throw in William Zepeda, who, by the way, I just read William Zepeda and the rematch is going to be fully drug tested for Cancun. They started drug testing those guys. They should drug test everybody. They should drug test across the board, for one thing. And that's going to be a subject on Thursday that I want to talk to you, Drew, because Floyd Schofield has been making crazy allegations against Shakur Stevenson and Vada and Victor Conte, because Victor Conte is working closely with the camp of Shakur Stevenson. And we'll do that more so on Thursday.
I know. Why Victor Conte has no business being around the sport of boxing. And that's my opinion. It's probably a lot of people that share my opinion. But he has no business being around the sport of boxing. He has no business being around sports in general.
Well, then I'd have to say his counterpart, his nemesis, Angel Memo Heredia, who is the strength and conditioning coach for David Benavidez, should have also been blacklisted from the sport of boxing. And yet he's one of the best, most called upon strength and conditioning coaches in all of boxing. David Benavidez, obviously, he works great for him and works great for, there's a lot of people. But at the moment, I don't want to. It's too much for us to handle really quickly. Let me just put up the CompuBox, Drew, in comparison to kind of not the bore fest that the Duarte fight was, but let's look at the numbers. 62 punches thrown by Madueño in round one against 41. That's 100 punches thrown between both opponents. 9 landing. That's a really low percentage right there. In the 7th round, the round where the fight stopped, 31 punches thrown. 31 punches landed, almost all of them power punches, man, by Oscar Duarte. And you could see that the steam really came out of Madueño in that 7th round, throwing only 36 punches and landing 10. He was still competitive in round 6, throwing 62, but the power shots, wow. Yeah, let's talk about that really quickly, guys, because, man, Oscar is a great promoter. When he needs to be a great promoter, he is. And you guys saw him post-fight that he said, wow, you just stopped the guy that Keyshawn. Well, of course he wanted to rob the thunder from Keyshawn Davis, who just won a world title the night before. He wants to make it look like Oscar Duarte can knock out Keyshawn Davis. But listen, it's a business. He's trying to get in people's heads. Fuck, let Oscar Duarte get a crack at Keyshawn Davis. Of course, he's a promoter. He says, all right, Virtuoso says, why is Oscar comparing Madueño's 2 losses against Keyshawn Duarte? Is he planning to let us down again like he mishandled Shakur versus William Zepeda? Drew, what did you think about that comparison Oscar made, saying, wow, you knocked out a guy that Keyshawn couldn't stop. You're probably better than Keyshawn. Not that he said that, but he's inferring that, right?
How long did Keyshawn fight? How long ago did Keyshawn fight this guy?
July of 2024. And he beat in my opinion, you could watch the highlights, man. He beat him down in every round. He just couldn't finish the guy.
So the guy probably been through wars as it is. And Duarte got him at the right time. Dude,
that's perfect analogy. You want to know who I remember did that? Who was the guy that went to Mexico to fight Canelo Alvarez from the UK? Ryder. Yeah. Ryder took a beating in that fight in Guadalajara against Canelo. He took a beating, but he was in that fight like a dog. bloodied,
Yeah.
broken nose. He was battered, and he gave Canelo everything he could, and Canelo could not stop him. Jaime Munguia comes along in the next fight. He's like, I'll fight Ryder. Shit, that was a fucking easy knockout, of course, man. I mean, he was damaged goods. He was like a Coca-Cola can that had already been smashed and then just pulled back apart.
I think people, Oscar is always going to try to mislead the public any chance he could. If it's believable, if it's like at least a 20% believable rate, and this is a 20% believable rate of a potential fight. But the thing about it is, you're gonna let your guy go down and wait to fight Keyshawn Davis? No.
Nah, he's hoping to drag. When Keyshawn makes the move up to 140, he's hoping to land a big fight for him.
Yeah. So let's look at it like this. Oscar Duarte, if I'm saying his name wrong, my bad. But I think he is tailor-made for a lot of people. This is a guy that's good that you could put on your card. That's gonna create good big fireworks, Mexican style, hardcore Mexican style, all across the board. You put him in the right fight with another Mexican or another slugger, and see where it goes. Now, when he gets his title shots against the better American fighters or any other fighters that he's tailor-made for, they're going to really beat the balls off of him because how undisciplined he is. So, if we look at it, could he be a champion? Yeah, he probably could. A vacated belt, but that's about it.
Okay.
He ain't going to be like, does he beat Isaac Cruz? Yes. I'm sorry. I think the Isaac Cruz thing, I think Isaac Cruz is basically you're just getting him on to have a name on your resume, someone you can bank off. Hey, he gave Tank Davis a hard time. Arguably beat Tank Davis or drew Tank Davis. But think about there's a knocked out Roy Romero. They're going to use that too, former 140-pound champion. But let's look at it like this. People are failing to mention Isaac Cruz ducked a lot of fucking people. And
did he duck Ryan Garcia?
He ducked Ryan Garcia fight. He ducked the Shakur Stevenson fight. I really look at it as in it's more of Oscar is going to be like an attraction more than he's a contender, but I don't think he's going to win that title fight.
I mean, almost like the trajectory of Jaime Munguia. You put him in, and eventually Jaime did land a title at 154. It was an easy title to win against Saddam Ali, but he's never won a title against a top dog in his weight division, really. He was a size bully at that weight, and Oscar might pick up a fight like that. He might pick one up like that. Drew Subriel Matias, 140-pound, had the championship, I think, for just one. I think he defended it only once. There's a lot of fighters that at 140 have only had it once. I can think of the Australian guy who just had it for one. I already forgot his name. Who was that dude?
Liam Parle.
Liam Parle only had the title for one. Then you had Subriel Matias would be a fantastic fight if Matchroom Boxing wants to put that one up against Oscar Duarte. Let's talk about this Wednesday. We're going to do a new show on Thursday. Good night, Toronto. Thanks to everybody joining us in. Here, Scooby says, Isaac Cruz needs to go back to 135 and stay away from the killers at 140 like Matias, Hitchinson, Barbosa, etc. I agree. I think he'd be a great fighter at 135. Maybe he does want to take that Keyshawn Davis fight. Very interesting.
But here's the issue with that. He's been at 140 for about 5 or 6 of his past fights now. It's easier said than done that he can move back down weight, even though he's a midget compared to these motherfuckers at 140. I don't think it's easier said than done for him to move back down and get reacclimated to a lower weight class and everything. To me, I don't think he's suitable for 135. I think the by height and frame, he's better at 130.
Wow, you think he could get down there? By the way, I've seen Isaac Cruz in his big entourage in person. He is really short for the 140-pound division. He is. He's small, but he's a little powerhouse. Drew, I wanted to mention just a few weeks ago at the MGM Grand, might be when we first picked up this flu. Just a few weeks ago, we were there for the live media day workouts for David Benavidez, and I got a chance on camera. We were live streaming, and we saw Nonito Donaire, the great Bay Area boxing champion legend. And I asked him, I said, hey, Nonito, who is going to be the next boxing champ out of the Bay Area? And he took a second, and then he said, Flores. And he looked at me and said, Flores is. I forgot, man. Nonito Donaire has been working with Gabe Flores from Stockton, California, helping revitalize his career. And here he is this Wednesday. We're going to get a chance to see if his time away from Top Rank, rebuilding his brand, rebuilding himself in Stockton, California, headlining small shows in Stockton, if he's ready to be back on the primetime Wednesday night on YouTube, Flores Jr. versus Arellano. This is going to be fireworks, man. It's a crossroads fight because he's had some easy opponents in Stockton. Has he gotten his mind right? Has he fixed some of these things that were detrimental to him during his Top Rank run? We're going to find out, man. I'm excited about this on Wednesday night. What are your thoughts? You think this guy could retool, rebrand himself like Nonito Donaire thinks? I mean, I respect Nonito's opinion.
He could. There's always a chance, but it's if he's willing to take the time to do it and everything. And, like, you got to look at it like this. He wasn't really a knockout puncher.
Never. You're right.
So he had the division he was in. He had to really box a damn near perfect fight
every time.
So the thing about it is, I said he's got to get power. He's got to get power somehow. The one thing they got to focus on when it comes to him is power. Get his power up because he's got to be able to knock out people. He's got to be able to keep guys off of him. If these guys were able to run through him because knowing he does not have the power to hurt them and everything, that's what cost him a lot. He did not have the power to keep these guys honest and off him. Now, that's the one thing I think his team failed to do when he was at Top Rank was get him more acclimated to becoming a knockout puncher or even a boxer puncher that can keep guys off of
Excuse
him,
me.
that he can hurt guys.
Yeah.
And everything.
Drew,
and I think they failed to do it.
Yeah, they're almost masterful at Top Rank, building up prospects into contenders. But when they put him in against Alvarado Lopez, that might have been one time where the matchmakers got it wrong. Of course, Alvarado Lopez, vicious power from weird angles. And that was at the top of his game before he became featherweight champion of the world and went on a fantastic run. He put the beating on Gabe Flores. It was such a setback. And some could even argue that his dad did the wrong thing and not throwing in the towel, because I think Gabe Flores took some serious unnecessary punishment. That was a major setback. It was a big setback. But again, I'm excited. Let's see what happens this Wednesday night.
That's the main thing. I thought that his dad shouldn't have been training him after that anymore because he didn't do his best for not only the fighter, for his son and everything. Because you got stopped, but taking a beating that you should have taken a beating for the period of time that you took a beating, that could be damaging.
100, Drew. Hey, I appreciate the last comment from Boogie616. I think Tank hurt his hand in that Pitbull Cruz fight. That's one reason he didn't get the finish. And also, if you watch the fight, Cruz had some pretty good defense. He has an incredible neck, man. That's why they call him the Pitbull. Champy says Xander Zayas, one of the most overrated in all of boxing. Jesus Ramos Jr. is light years better and would knock him the fuck out. Champy, a few weeks ago, I played a clip. If you're a fan of D-Style Boxing on YouTube, me and D-Style interviewed we've interviewed Xander, but we've also interviewed Jesus on the potential of fighting Xander Zayas one day. And Jesus is not a big talker, but he said, man, I would love that fight. I would love to give that fight for the fans, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. And let's be real, Virgil Ortiz sent a contract to Xander, and the minute that he got a better offer from Madrimov, he dumped that fight. So if Xander wants to get a really big fight, he should be calling out Jesus in return. Call him out, man. Jesus is ready to take that fight.
I'm gonna say something when it comes to. Right now I do favor Jesus Ramos against Xander Zayas, but in that fight this past Friday, I think people failed to bring. People haven't brought up, but Xander's footwork is a lot better than it's been in this past fights.
Yeah, he's developed. I love the development of Xander. I love the development of Jesus. And there's no way to tell for me until I see them both in that ring. But I'm going to be honest, Jesus' competition, they're just a year apart. Drew, both of them just recently beat former world champions Teixeira on Xander. And then Jesus just beat a world champion on the David Benavidez, former world champion in Banana. But the better opposition overall has been for PBC's Jesus Ramos Jr., man. And by the way, guys, we'll talk about that, but they already signed that fight. Jesus is turning around really quickly. He'll be on the undercard. He'll be the co-main event to Sebastian Fundora March in Las Vegas. I will definitely be there covering that fight and covering all the midweek activities. Drew, your final thoughts before I let everybody go. Thursday night, we'll do the parlay. If you're free, are you done? We'll do our bets for Saturday.
Yep. What can I say? I have nothing to say, but Rick, you're getting sued by Caressa Shields.
Hey, and by the way, Drew, put in the comment section, put your channel of this show. Just go to the comment section. If you want to do it now, I'll do it now. Share your channel. Drew is playing. If you guys want to play a chance to play Drew and you have PS5 Undisputed, you could do that, right? You could play any one of our followers.
I probably could play the followers, but I'm going to be honest. I want to play his career mode.
Well, anyhow, here it is, youtube.com, Philly Irish Drew Evo. Make sure you guys follow him. He'll be live streaming the Undisputed video game, and potentially you guys could follow him and play him along. Scooby says, Zayas will eat everyone at 154. Get ready, y'all. He's up next, in my opinion.
Here's the plan. Ranked matches are probably going to take place on my Twitch channel at Philly Irish Drew. Is twitch.tv/Philly Irish Drew Evo. Career mode is probably going to be on YouTube.
Well, make sure we build both of those audiences right here, Drew. I like the debate, guys, because these young, hungry contenders, they need to know that you're watching them and supporting them, and that people are divided about who's better. Because if you have debate on social media, it drives fighters to consider fighting each other. They really need to know that we're talking about them. So I appreciate all that banter back and forth. Thursday, 7:30 to 7:45, we'll be on. Make sure you're subscribed and you hit that like button, and we'll see you then. Until then, peace out, everybody.